Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing Sanaa Carter ever did was stand in her mother's living room in Prince George's County, Maryland, smile like she was hosting a celebration, and tell her whole family, "Y'all can finally relax. I'm not married to a liar anymore." Then she turned to me, loud enough for everyone to hear, and added, "And don't do that quiet man act. We all know what you did." I saw the messages. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just looked at her and said, "Show me." She didn't. She lifted her chin instead, like proof was optional when the crowd was on her side. Her cousin Trayvon laughed first, because some people don't know how to be happy unless somebody else is embarrassed. "Bro," he said, dragging the word out. A programmer really thought he was slick. Sanaa's aunt clicked her tongue like she was tasting something bitter. These quiet men always got a secret life. Her mother, Mrs. Daly, shook her head at me with that slow, disappointed look like I'd failed a test she never gave her own daughter. Sanaa pointed at my phone on the coffee table like it was contaminated. "Unlock it," she said. "Right now." I took one breath. Calm. Controlled. I slid my chair back and stood up, adjusting my sleeves like this was a meeting, not an ambush. "I'm not unlocking anything in a room full of people who already decided I'm guilty," I said. "If you want to accuse me, do it like an adult. Just you and me." Sanaa's smile tightened. "Oh, so now you've got rules," she said, like boundaries were an insult. Mrs. Daly leaned forward. "Baby, if you didn't do it, why are you acting scared?" That's when Sanaa delivered the line that split something permanently. "Because he did do it." She said it with confidence, like she'd been waiting to say it for months. Like it felt good. Like it gave her power. "And I'm done carrying him," she added. "Carrying me. I paid half the mortgage. I handled the utilities. I fixed her website 2 days before a product drop when her checkout page crashed. I built her inventory tracker during the weekend so she could stop guessing. I was the quiet scaffolding behind the loud success." In that room, none of that mattered. I nodded once, because arguing with a performance is a waste of breath. "Okay," I said. "Then we're done." She blinked like she didn't expect agreement. I walked out while they were still tasting the drama. Here's how it happened. I'm Micah Carter, and I've always been a steady man. I don't do theatrics. I don't beg for love. I don't raise my voice to be heard. I work as a programmer, clean logic, calm habits, pattern recognition. The same way I debug code is the same way I read people. I watch inputs, outputs, inconsistencies. Sanaa used to say she loved that about me. "You make me feel safe," she'd whisper, forehead on my chest, like my calm was a home she could live in. But some people don't want safety. They want control that feels like excitement. When I met Sanaa, she had that DC glow, bright smile, quick jokes, ambitious plans. She was building her brand, selling products online, always brainstorming. We used to laugh at nothing. Late-night grocery runs in Bowie, arguing about which cereal was grown, dancing in socks to old R&B while the air fryer beeped like a backup singer. She was funny then, warm. We'd split a milkshake and roast each other gently, the way couples do when they actually like each other. I proposed at National Harbor, simple and private. She cried. She said yes like she meant it. The wedding was small but loud because her family came with sound. We rented a venue near the water, invited close friends, took pictures until our cheeks hurt. Her mother hugged me and called me a good man. And I remember thinking, this is solid. We moved into a townhouse in Upper Marlboro, picked out furniture together, argued about paint colors, planned trips we never took because Sanaa was always one more launch away for being free. I didn't mind. I believed in work. I believed in building. I believed marriage was a long game, not a moment. The shift didn't come with one big explosion. It came like a slow leak, small comments, little tests, tiny humiliations that didn't look serious until you added them up. It started with jokes in front of people. The first time she publicly corrected me was at dinner with friends in Baltimore. I was talking about a bug I finally fixed at work, proud because it had haunted me for days. Sanaa cut me off mid-sentence and laughed, patting my hand like I was a kid. "Babe," she said, "nobody wants to hear about your little computer problems." Everybody chuckled. I smiled because I didn't want to be the sensitive man at the table. In the car afterward, I said calmly, "That wasn't cool." Sana didn't even look at me. "Oh my God, you're too sensitive," she said. "It was a joke." I didn't laugh, I replied. She exhaled hard like I was exhausting. "Because you take everything personal. Man up." That phrase became her exit door. Anytime she didn't want accountability, she'd throw "man up" at me like it was a reset button. And the thing about a disrespectful pattern is, once someone learns you'll swallow it, they start feeding it to you more often. Then came the phone stuff, disguised as play at first. "Let me see something real quick," she'd say, reaching for my phone like she was grabbing a remote. She'd scroll with that casual face, like she was just curious. I let it slide because I had nothing to hide. But curiosity turned into suspicion, and suspicion turned into entitlement. One night, I stepped out of the shower and found her sitting on the bed with my phone in her hands, eyes narrow. "Who is Kay?" she asked. I blinked. "My co-worker, Khalil. We're deploying tomorrow." She tilted the screen at me. "Why is he texting you at 9:47? I held my hand out. "Give me my phone." She didn't. She scrolled slower, like she wanted to catch something. "So you're working late and texting people late?" she said. "Okay, that's literally my job," I replied. She tossed the phone onto the bed like it insulted her. "No wonder you are always calm," she muttered. "You'll be calm when you're hiding stuff." I sat down, still calm but colder inside. "Sana," I said, "do you hear yourself?" She shrugged. "If you're innocent, you wouldn't mind proving it. That logic is a cage. Prove forever or be guilty." Her business started doing better. I was proud of her. I genuinely was. I helped where I could, spreadsheets, website tweaks, automations. But as her confidence grew, her respect shrank. She began treating my work like it was soft, like it wasn't real labor, because it didn't leave dirt under my nails. "It must be nice to sit behind a screen all day," she'd say, laughing in front of friends. Or, "You can't take risks like me." Sometimes she'd add, "You're lucky I'm ambitious because you'd be comfortable staying basic forever." Basic, like stability, was a weakness. Like consistency was a lack of hunger. Meanwhile, expectations multiplied. If the trash wasn't out, it wasn't a missed chore, it was "you don't lead." If dinner wasn't planned, it was "you don't think." If I needed quiet to finish a deadline, it was "you always choose your computer over me." She'd criticize me in public, then call it honesty. She'd dismiss my feelings as too sensitive. She'd refuse to apologize when she was wrong. She'd threaten, "I'll leave. I'll replace you. I can do better." And then she'd smile after, like she didn't just drop a grenade in the room. The first time she called me a name during an argument, it was small but loud. We were in the kitchen, and I asked why she moved money out of our joint account without telling me. She didn't deny it. She didn't explain. She attacked. "You're always watching," she snapped. "You act like I'm a child." "No," I said. "I act like this is a marriage and we communicate." She laughed sharply. "You're so controlling. That's why people don't like you, Micah." People. I knew she meant her family. She liked to recruit people, so she didn't have to stand alone in her behavior. Her cousin Trayvon was always around, always joking too loud, always paying attention to our marriage like it was a show. He'd say things like, "Sana, you sure you could trust him? These quiet ones are the worst." He'd look at me like he was daring me to react. I never did. I'd smile politely and change the subject. Sana would giggle like it was harmless. But harmless jokes have a purpose when they repeat. They plant a seed. Trayvon loved chaos because chaos let him feel important. In every family, there's somebody who stirs the pot just to prove they can. The rumor didn't hit our marriage like lightning. It crept in like smoke, thin at first, then choking. It started the weekend. I skipped a family cookout because my job was on fire. Production issue, major outage, the kind that makes your phone buzz nonstop. I told Sana ahead of time. She kissed my forehead and said, "Handle your work, babe." That night, she came home different, quiet, but sharp around the edges. She dropped her purse hard on the counter and didn't kiss me back. She just stared. "So what are you really doing?" she asked. I blinked. "Fixing the outage. You can literally see." "Don't do that," she snapped. "Don't start with your little explanations." I paused and closed my laptop slowly, like sudden movement might set her off. "Sana, I said, "What happened?" She crossed her arms and looked past me like she was rehearsing a speech. "Trayvon said he saw you at National Harbor last weekend," she said, "with a woman." I kept my voice even. "That's a lie." She laughed once cold. "He doesn't lie." I almost smiled at that because it was such a childish sentence for a married woman to say. "Everybody lies," I replied, "especially people who enjoy drama." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't turn this on him." "I'm your wife," she said, stepping closer. "I deserve the truth." "You do," I agreed. "And the truth is, I wasn't there." She tilted her head like she was offended I wouldn't confess to something I didn't do. "So Trayvon's just making up stories for fun?" she asked. I watched her face carefully. She wasn't seeking clarity. She was seeking permission. "Yes," I said. "That's exactly what he's doing." She stared at me like I'd insulted her religion. Then she reached past me and shut my laptop hard. "That's your problem," she said. "You think you're smarter than everybody. Like you can code your way out of accountability." That was the moment something clicked. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Clarity. I realized I wasn't dealing with a misunderstanding. I was dealing with a pattern. She wanted me wrong. She wanted the emotional advantage. If I cried, she'd mock me. If I got angry, she'd call me unstable. If I stayed calm, she'd call me guilty. So I made a decision that night. I would stop reacting emotionally and start moving smart. I said, "Open it back up." She smirked. "Or what?" I held her gaze. "Or you'll find out what it feels like when I stop protecting this marriage from consequences." Her smile fell for half a second. She didn't apologize. She doubled down. The next week was a parade of suspicion. She checked my phone when I showered. She asked sideways questions in front of friends. "So who are you texting these days?" She posted quotes about betrayal like she was building a case to an audience that didn't exist. She'd stare at me while I typed like she was watching a thief count money. If I came home 5 minutes late, she'd ask, "Traffic?" in that sweet voice that wasn't sweet. When I answered normally, she'd respond, like she was saving it. Like she was collecting little moments to justify a big explosion later. One night, she invited her friends over without telling me, then turned our living room into a stage. I walked in and saw two couples sitting on our couch, wine glasses out, laughing. Sanaa stood in the kitchen like a hostess. "Babe," she said too loud, "tell them about your late nights at work." Everybody laughed awkwardly because they could feel something sharp under the joke. I set my keys down calmly. "My late nights are deadlines," I said. Sanaa lifted her brows. "Deadlines," she repeated. There must be a lot of deadlines these days." Her friend Keisha sipped wine and said, "Girl, you better check his phone." Sanaa smiled like she'd been waiting for that. After they left, I said, "Don't do that again." She leaned on the counter, unbothered. "Don't do what?" "Use guests to throw accusations," I replied. She laughed. "I didn't accuse you. I asked a question." "You weaponize a question," I said. Her eyes flashed. "You're so dramatic, Micah." Then she hit me with her favorite dismissal. "Man up." I nodded slowly. "I am," I said. "That's why I'm paying attention." She rolled her eyes like attention was a threat. The truth is, she enjoyed the imbalance. Her suspicion gave her permission to treat me however she wanted. The disrespect kept building in scenes, not speeches. Scene, a restaurant in Silver Spring, where she corrected my order like I didn't know what I liked. "He doesn't want that," she told the server, smiling. "He's picky." I looked at her and said quietly, "I wanted that." She shrugged. "You'll be fine." Scene, a family dinner where she told her uncle, "Micah's job is cute, but it's not like he's running anything." Cute. Scene, a Sunday morning where she called me boring because I didn't want to argue about nothing. "You are always so calm," she said. "It's like you don't even care. Some people only feel loved if you suffer loudly." Then came the direct threats, said casually like jokes, but meant seriously. We were driving back from D.C., and she was scrolling on her phone, smirking. "You know what's crazy?" she said. "If I wanted to, I could replace you in a week." I kept my eyes on the road. "Is that supposed to scare me?" She laughed. "It's supposed to motivate you." "To do what?" I asked. "To act right." Act right, meaning accept disrespect and be grateful. I pulled into our driveway, parked, and looked at her. "Sanaa," I said, "you're not threatening me into being a better husband." You're training me to stop being your husband." She scoffed. "You always talk in riddles." I didn't answer because it wasn't a riddle. It was a warning. I didn't start planning revenge. I started protecting myself. Quietly. Like a man who understands that love without respect becomes a liability. I pulled phone records, not to prove anything to her, but to keep a clean timeline. I saved screenshots of her posts and texts. I documented dates she accused me, dates she threatened me, dates she involved her family. I scheduled a consultation with a lawyer in downtown D.C. on my lunch break, like it was a routine errand. The lawyer was an older black woman with a calm voice and sharp eyes. She said, "You don't have to be loud to be firm. You need paperwork." I nodded. I liked her immediately. I opened a separate account and moved my direct deposit. Not because I wanted to punish Sanaa, but because I'd seen enough to know what happens when an entrepreneur gets stressed and starts making financial decisions without conversation. I changed passwords. I separated accounts where I could. I stopped fixing her business systems. When her website glitched, I didn't jump. When she panicked about a spreadsheet, I told her calmly, "You can hire someone." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "Why are you acting like this?" she asked. I looked her in the eye. "Because I'm not your safety net while you disrespect me." She called me petty. I called it boundaries. The rumor kept evolving because Trayvon kept feeding it. He would text Sanaa concerned, messages like he was saving her. "Check your man," he'd write. "Quiet dudes be sneaky." Sanaa ate it up because it made her feel supported. She didn't realize support from a messy person is just manipulation with a hug on it. One evening she said, "Trayvon said he saw you again." I didn't even blink. "Where?" I asked. She hesitated. "Near the harbor." I nodded. "Okay," I said. "Then he should have pictures." Sanaa's face twisted. "Why do you always need proof?" I looked at her. "Because I'm not confessing to fiction." She threw her hands up. "You see? That attitude. You are always acting superior." Superior. Because I requested evidence. She started involving her mother more openly. Mrs. Daly would call Sanaa, and then Sanaa would come to me with her mother's voice inside her mouth. "My mom said a real husband doesn't hide his phone," she'd say. I'd respond, "A real wife doesn't recruit her mom into her marriage." Sanaa would snap, "My mom cares about me." "So do I," I said, "but I'm not your opponent." She'd roll her eyes and say, "You always calm like you rehearsed." That's when I understood. She hated my calm because it meant she couldn't control the story with emotion. Calm doesn't beg. Calm doesn't chase. Calm just decides. The humiliation scene at her mother's house was not spontaneous. It was the final act of a plan. She invited me over under the excuse of family dinner. When we arrived, I saw extra cars on the street and felt it immediately. A setup. Sanaa squeezed my hand at the door like she was pretending. "Just be respectful," she whispered. I nodded. Inside, the living room was full. Cousins, aunties, a few friends. Mrs. Daly was smiling too big. Trayvon sat in a chair like a king, legs spread, confident. He looked at me like he'd been waiting. Sanaa walked me into the center of that room like she was bringing out a guest speaker. She didn't even sit first. She stood by the coffee table and cleared her throat. "So," she said loud, "I need everybody to hear this." My stomach stayed steady. My face stayed neutral. "Sanaa," I said quietly, "we can talk at home." She waved me off like I was interrupting her show. "No," she said, "because you've been lying in private. So we're dealing with it in public." Then she dropped the line. "I'm not married to a liar anymore." She said messages. She said proof. But when I asked for it, she gave me vibes and volume. That's when Trayvon chimed in, smirking. He thought he was slick. Mrs. Daly asked why I was scared. Sanaa told the room she was done carrying me. And I walked out. The first call came 10 minutes later. Sanaa. Then another. Then Mrs. Daly. Then Trayvon, which was bold, like he could poke me and still be safe. I didn't answer. Not because I was being dramatic. Because I was done participating in chaos. When I finally picked up later, Sanaa's voice was sharp. "Where are you?" she demanded. "I'm safe," I replied. "You embarrassed me," she said. I almost laughed because it was so backwards. "I embarrassed you," I repeated, "by leaving after you accused me in front of your family." "You didn't even defend yourself," she snapped. "I did," I said. "I asked for proof. You had none." Trayvon wouldn't lie, she insisted, like repeating it could make it true. I said one word that made her angrier than any insult. Okay. The silence after that, okay, was heavy. She hated when I refused to argue, because arguing would keep me in a cage with her. So you're just going to abandon your wife? She asked. You abandoned me first, I said calmly. In that room. She started crying, then flipped to anger mid-breath. You always do this, she yelled. You always act like you are above it. I'm not above it, I replied. I'm just not staying inside it. She hung up like she wanted to slam something. The lie cracked a week later, not because Sanaa suddenly respected the truth, but because Trayvon got sloppy. He told the rumor to the wrong person, Sanaa's older brother Kendrick, who doesn't follow the noise. Kendrick called me first. Micah, he said, I want you to be honest. Did you step out? I answered steadily. No, Kendrick paused. Where were you the day Trayvon said he saw you? I told him. At home, then at the office. There's logs. There's timestamps. Kendrick exhaled. That's what I thought. Then his voice went colder. Because I asked Trayvon for details. He didn't have any. I didn't celebrate. I just listened. Kendrick confronted Trayvon, and Trayvon laughed. Actually laughed, and admitted he just wanted to see if she'd ride for him. Ride for him. Like my marriage was a loyalty test for a cousin who didn't pay our bills. When Kendrick told Sanaa, she finally felt the floor drop. Because now the villain wasn't me. It was someone she trusted. Someone she used to justify disrespect. The same day she found out, she called me with a softer voice, like she was trying on humility for the first time. Babe, she began, can we talk? I let silence sit for 2 seconds. Then I said talk. She rushed. There was confusion. Trayvon was playing. I didn't know he would. I cut in gently but firmly. Sanaa, you didn't believe him because he had proof. You believed him because it felt good to have a reason to punish me. She inhaled like I'd slapped her with truth. That's not fair, she whispered. It's accurate, I said. You didn't ask me privately. You didn't protect me. You performed me as the villain in front of people who don't respect our marriage. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. That word was new on her tongue. She said it might fix everything. But sorry is not a reset. Sorry for the receipt. I said the sentence that ended the story she thought she was writing. I already filed. Silence. Then, what? Like she didn't understand consequences could move quietly. Already filed, I repeated, and I already separated our finances. Her breath turned ragged. Micah, please, I stayed steady. You can keep the house if you refinance it, I said. If not, we sell. She started crying, begging now, voice small. You're divorcing me because of a rumor? No, I replied. Because of the pattern. What pattern? She snapped, trying to find anger again. I didn't list 100 examples. I didn't argue. I delivered it clean. The pattern where you disrespect me, refuse to apologize, and use your family as a weapon. She whispered, I love you. I answered, love doesn't require humiliation as proof. She tried switching tactics, sweetness, then guilt, then anger. So you're perfect? She demanded. You never do anything wrong? I said I do wrong things. I own them. That's the difference. She spat out. You always think you're smarter than me. I didn't flinch. I don't think I'm smarter, I said. I think I'm done. That made her cry harder because finality is a language she couldn't manipulate. She wanted me frantically. She wanted me to be emotional. She wanted me to be loud so she could label me. But I was calm, and calm is terrifying when someone's used to controlling the temperature. The karma didn't come as a viral shame. No police, no public meltdown, no social media circus, just consequences that didn't care how charming she was. Her family didn't blame Trayvon the way they blamed me. They excused him. That's just Trayvon, her aunt said. Mrs. Daly sighed like it was unfortunate but normal. He was joking, she insisted. The same people who had a whole courtroom energy for me suddenly believed in grace, when the offender was their favorite problem. Sanaa tried to get them to rally around her, but they were tired now. They'd already gotten their entertainment. They didn't want to help rebuild what their laughter helped destroy. And then real life hit her business. Not because I sabotaged her. I didn't have to. I simply stopped saving her. I stopped being the invisible support she took for granted. When her website crashed during a sale, she texted me frantically. Micah, it's not processing payments. Please. I stared at the message, felt the old instinct to fix, and then remembered her voice in her mother's living room. I'm done carrying him. I replied, contact your hosting support, or hire a developer. She called immediately. Why are you doing this to me? She demanded. I'm not doing anything to you, I said. I'm doing something for me. I'm no longer your emergency contact. She couldn't believe I would let her struggle because she didn't understand the difference between love and access. She thought being married meant she could disrespect me and still receive benefits. That's the entrepreneur mistake some people make in relationships. They treat the spouse like a resource. When the resource stops, they call it cruelty. But it's not cruel. It's a correction. She started missing deadlines, mixing up inventory, losing track of orders. Things I used to systematize quietly became chaos. She snapped at assistants. Then assistants quit. She called it stress. I called it exposure. When your success relies on someone you don't respect, disrespect is a bad business plan. The mediation date came fast because I had prepared. Greenbelt, Maryland. A plain office with beige walls and a table that had seen 100 marriages end. Sanaa walked in dressed like she could win an argument with outfits. Hair laid, nails perfect, perfume strong. Her eyes were red, though. She sat across from me and whispered, I didn't know you were serious. I looked at her calmly. I've been serious, I said. You just didn't take me seriously. The mediator spoke in neutral tones about assets and options. Sanaa kept glancing at me, like she was waiting for me to soften. I didn't harden. I stayed steady. There's a difference. At one point, she leaned forward and tried to make it emotional because emotion was her battlefield. I wish you would have fought for me, she said softly. I didn't laugh. I didn't scoff. I just told the truth. I did, I said. Every time I stayed calm while you tried to make me the enemy. Her lips trembled. I was scared, she whispered. Scared of what? I asked. She hesitated. Then she said the quiet part out loud. Scared you'd leave. I nodded slowly. So you try to control me with disrespect, I said. And now you're shocked I left. After the papers were set, she caught me in the hallway. The building's fluorescent lights made everything look drained. Real. Micah, she said, voice thin. I didn't mean it. I looked at her. Intent doesn't erase impact, I replied. She swallowed. Trayvon ruined everything, she said. I tilted my head slightly. No, I corrected. Trayvon exposed what you were already willing to do. She blinked like she'd never heard accountability without screaming. So that's it? She asked. I nodded. That's it. Her eyes filled again. You don't miss me? She whispered. I answered carefully. I miss who we were before you learned you could disrespect me and still keep me. She tried to rewrite the past, because that's what people do when consequences arrive. She brought up good memories like they were coupons. Remember National Harbor? She asked. Remember when we danced in the kitchen? I nodded. I remember. So how can you throw it away? She pleaded. I didn't flinch. I didn't throw it away, I said. You traded it for power. That made her angry, because truth often feels like disrespect to people who don't like mirrors. You think you are so above everybody, she snapped. No, I replied. I just finally stopped begging you to treat me like I'm not disposable. She shook her head like I was cruel. But calm boundaries feel cruel to someone who benefited from your flexibility. The house became the next battlefield, but I refused to fight in it. We had options. She could refinance and buy me out, or we could sell. She wanted me to just leave it because it's my home too. I said exactly. That's why it has to be handled properly. She tried to guilt me. You know my business is slow right now. I replied, then selling might be smarter. She tried to anger me. You always want to control everything. I said no. I want things documented. She hated that word, documented, because documentation doesn't respond to charm. In the end, we sold. Clean, legal, quiet. She moved back closer to her mom for support. The same support that had cheered while she humiliated me. Months passed, and the silence in my life felt like peace, not loneliness. I went back to routines I'd lost. Gym early mornings, long drives with music, quiet weekends without walking on emotional eggshells. My friends noticed I smiled more. I didn't talk badly about Sanaa. I didn't need to. People who move loud in public eventually meet their own echo. One night, Kinder called me. "You good?" he asked. "I'm good," I said. He exhaled. "I try to tell her," he admitted. "She doesn't listen. Some people only learn from loss," I replied. Kendrick was quiet. "She misses you," he said. I answered, "Missing someone isn't the same as respecting them." Sanaa called me 2 months later from a number I didn't recognize. I answered because curiosity is human. Her voice sounded tired. Not dramatically tired, real tired. "Micah," she said, "I didn't know you did that much." I let a beat pass. "That's part of the problem," I said. She swallowed. "I took you for granted," she admitted, "and I let my family get in my head. I kept my tone steady. You didn't just let them," I corrected. "You used them." She sighed like she knew I was right. "Can we start over?" she asked, small. I didn't insult her. I didn't gloat. I just said, "No, some doors don't reopen because the house isn't safe anymore." She tried one last angle. "So you're just going to act like none of it mattered?" I answered honestly. It mattered enough for me to leave. She got quiet. "I'm in therapy," she said suddenly, like it was a magic phrase. "Good," I replied. "Keep going." She sounded offended. "That's it? You don't even care?" I said, "I care about you becoming healthier. I'm just not volunteering to be at the training ground." She whispered, "I hate that you're so calm." I almost smiled. "You hated it when we were married too," I said. She didn't respond. Then she said, "Trayvon apologized." I answered, "He apologized because the game got too expensive." She hung up softly. Trayvon eventually texted me himself. A long message. Lots of bro, lots of I was joking. Lots of I didn't think she'd take it seriously. Like her marriage was a toy. I stared at the screen and felt nothing. No rage, no urge to lecture. Just a clear understanding. Men like Trayvon don't change because you explain. They change when they lose access to the people they use to entertain. I replied with one sentence, "Don't contact me again." He typed back immediately, defensive. "You're mad at me, but not her." I didn't answer. Silence is a boundary too. The most devastating part for Sanaa wasn't that I left. It was that once I left, the story she built didn't hold up. When she tried to tell people I was the bad guy, the facts didn't cooperate. No evidence. No receipts. Just her feelings and Trayvon's mouth. People started asking questions, and Sanaa hated questions because questions require answers. Her friends stopped cheering when they realized there wasn't a dramatic villain arc, just a woman who embarrassed a good man publicly and then got surprised by the consequences. And her family? They kept acting like it was marriage stuff, but I noticed something. They didn't laugh anymore. Because now there was nothing to laugh at. The entertainment ended when the stability left. One afternoon, I ran into Sanaa at a Target in Bowie. The kind of random moment life does when it wants to test your healing. She was in the aisle with home organizers, staring at plastic bins like she was trying to contain her life. She saw me and froze. Her face changed fast. Shock, sadness, pride. I nodded politely, no heat. She stepped closer. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I replied. She looked like she wanted to say 1,000 things. Instead, she asked, "Are you dating?" The question wasn't about me. It was about whether she still mattered. I kept my tone neutral. "I'm at peace," I said. She blinked like peace was a flex she didn't understand. She tried to laugh like old times. "You always talk like a fortune cookie," she said, but her voice cracked. I didn't bite. I looked at her gently. "Sanaa," I said, "I hope you're doing okay." That kindness irritated her because it removed her from the center. "I'm fine," she snapped automatically. Then she softened. "I'm not," she admitted. I nodded once. "I know," I said. "That's why I hope you keep doing the work." She swallowed. "I'm sorry," she whispered again, like she wanted the word to become a bridge. I said, "I heard you." Then I stepped back, because hearing isn't the same as returning. Later that night, she texted me a memory, a photo of us dancing in the kitchen, both laughing. Under it she wrote, "We were good once." I stared at it longer than I expected. We were good once. That was true. But good once isn't a contract for forever if respect dies. I replied, "We were. I hope you find that again, with someone you don't have to hurt to feel safe." She left me to read. The next day, Kinder called and sighed. "She cried all night," he said. I didn't feel guilty. Consequences aren't cruelty. They're lessons that finally land. People always ask men like me why we stay calm. Like calm means you don't feel. Like calm means you don't bleed. The truth is, calm is discipline. Calm is refusing to hand your dignity to someone who mishandles it. I felt pain. I felt betrayal. I felt that deep embarrassment of being accused publicly by the person who vowed to protect you. But I also felt something else, relief. Because once she did it in front of everybody, she showed me she was willing to burn our home for applause. And a home that can be burned that easily isn't a home. It's a stage. I don't live on stages anymore. A few weeks after the Target run-in, I got a call from Mrs. Daly. I almost didn't answer, but I did, because closure sometimes comes from unexpected corners. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "Micah," she said, "I want to apologize." I waited. She cleared her throat. "I shouldn't have talked to you like that," she admitted. "I let family talk get louder than sense." I didn't celebrate it. I simply said, "Thank you." She sighed. "Sanaa's hurting," she added, as if that should move me. I replied carefully, "I'm not her painkiller, ma'am." Mrs. Daly was quiet. Then she said, "You are a good man." I answered, "I know." And I meant it. That last exchange did something for me. Not because I needed her mother's approval, but because it confirmed what I already understood. People will doubt you loudly when it benefits them, and apologize quietly when truth becomes inconvenient. They want you to accept the loud disrespect, but be grateful for the quiet apology. I don't operate like that. I don't hate them. I don't chase revenge. I just move differently once someone shows me they're willing to humiliate me for comfort. When Sanaa used her family as a weapon, she taught me that my peace had a price. And when I paid it, I got my life back. The funniest part is, Sanaa used to accuse me of being secretive because I didn't share everything with the world. Now she understands why I'm private. Privacy protects what matters. Our marriage died in public because she fed it to public mouths. The rebuilding I did afterward was quiet, because quiet is where real healing happens. I didn't post about it. I didn't drag her name. I didn't call everybody to pick sides. I just closed the doors properly and rebuilt my routines. A year later, my credit was stronger, my savings healthier, my sleep deeper. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. I stopped bracing for conflict like it was a weather forecast. Every once in a while, I hear updates through Kendrick. Sanaa's business stabilized after she hired a real developer and an accountant. Therapy helped her name what she used to mask with sarcasm. Trayvon got cut off from a few family events for a while, then slithered back in like people always let chaos return when it's wearing a smile. But Sanaa doesn't laugh at his jokes the same. Kendrick told me, she told Trayvon once, "You don't play with people's homes." That sentence came too late for my house, but I still respected it. Some lessons arrive after the door closes. If I could tell my past self one thing, it would be this. The first time someone dismisses your feelings with too sensitive, pay attention. The first time someone refuses to apologize when wrong, pay attention. The first time someone criticizes you publicly, then calls it honesty, pay attention. Disrespect doesn't usually kick down the door. It picks the lock with jokes and small humiliations until you're living in a house where you don't recognize yourself. I'm not proud that my marriage ended. I'm proud I didn't lose my dignity trying to save it. Because saving something that requires you to shrink isn't saving, it's surrender. Sanaa trusted a rumor and broke our home. When she found out who lied, she expected me to come running back with open arms and a forgiving speech. But I'd already moved quietly, legally, and cleanly. Because love without respect isn't a relationship, it's a trap. My life got better the moment I stopped arguing with someone committed to misunderstanding me. And that's the calm truth I'll never apologize for. If you felt that ending in your chest, hit like. Subscribe for more stories where the comeback is calm, legal, and final. And drop a comment. Was Micah right to leave? Yes or no? I'm replying to the top comments. The end.